I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough. I see myself in joy and love. I know myself, I am enough.
Welcome to our worship service. Settle into your space. Take a deep breath in and let it out. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe we are all connected in this world, and we value the worth and dignity of each person. We pull on the wisdom of many sources to teach us, guide us, and help us understand the world we live in. As we settle into our space and prepare our hearts for worship, let us remember our connections to each other and renew them now through our collective words we say for our chalice lighting. Please join me in the chalice lighting words. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share. Our opening words are by Marielle Cleary. For untold centuries, people have drawn apart from the workaday world to worship, to celebrate, and to wonder at things beyond and within. So we are gathered to raise our sights and look at new horizons. Life is more than toil for bread. Life has meaning and purpose. As we celebrate life together this morning, let us seek harmony within ourselves, with one another, and with the world, and find ourselves and our lives uplifted and made whole by that sharing. Come, let us worship together. Please raise your voices in spirit in our opening hymn, With This Life.
With this life I am living
in a world that's wild and free,
and with this voice I am speaking
my truth with clarity,
and with this heart I am loving
what once was and what will be,
and with this life I am living
both with joy and dignity.
With this life I am living
in a world that's wild and free.
And with this voice I am speaking
My truth with clarity.
and with this heart I am loving
What once was and what will be.
and with this life I am living
both with joy and dignity.
Our first reading is a poem by Reverend Victoria Safford titled Map of the Journey of Progress. Here is where I find my voice and chose to be brave. Here is a place where I forgave someone against my better judgment, and I survived that, and unexpectedly, amazingly, I became wiser. Here is where I was once forgiven, was ready for once in my life to receive forgiveness and to be transformed, and I survived that also. I lived to tell the tale. This is the place where I said no more loudly than I'd ever thought I could, and everybody stared. But I said no loudly anyway, because I knew it must be said, and those staring settled down into harmless, ineffective grumbling, and over me they had no power anymore. Here's a time, and here's another, when I laid down my fear and I walked right into it, right up to my neck into that roiling water. Here's where cruelty taught me something, and here's where I first astonished by gratuitous compassion and knew it was for the miracle it was, the requirement it is. It was a trembling time. And here, much later, is where I returned the blessing, clumsily. It wasn't hard, but I was unaccustomed. It cycled round, and as best I could, I sent it back, out on it, passed the gift along, this circular motion around and around with no apparent end. Here is a place, a murky puddle, where I have stumbled more than once and fallen. I don't know yet what to learn there. On this sight I was outraged, and the rage still sustains me. It clarifies my seeing. And here's where something caught me. A warm breeze in late winter, birdsong in late summer. Here's where I was told that something was wrong with my eyes, that I see the world strangely. And here's where I said, yes, I know, I walk in beauty. Here's where I began to look with my own eyes and listen with my ears and sing my own song, as shaky as it is. Here's where, if by surgeon's knife, my heart was opened up, and here, and here, and here. These are the landmarks of conversion.
In his book, Life is in the Transitions, Bob Feeler names 5 truths about transitions he learned in interviewing over 225 people of all ages, backgrounds, and beliefs. The first truth is transitions are becoming more plentiful than they once were. He states, crises aren't just for midlife anymore. Turning points don't care how old we are. Urges to overturn our routines don't follow handy charts printed in undergraduate textbooks. Life changes happen. When they happen, often when we least expect them to happen, and at a pace that would have seemed unthinkable a few years ago. In his research, he found that the average adult will have one life disruptor every 1 to 2 years, and that 1 in 10 of those will be so big that the person will undergo a major life change. This is a major life quake, as Feeler calls them, every 3 to 5 years. He categorizes these life disruptors into 5 categories. Love, changes in interpersonal relationships. Identity, changes in community, sexuality, gender, and class. Beliefs, changes in education, politics, religion, community service. Work, changes in career, job, responsibilities, recognitions, and retirement. And body, changes in physical or mental health, habits, illness, and addiction. These life disruptors are value neutral, according to Feeler, and are more something that interrupts the everyday flow of one's life. Life quakes, on the other hand, are a forceful burst of change in one's life that leads to a period of upheaval, transition, and renewal. The second truth about transitions is they are non-linear. The idea that we can experience a transition and go through a certain stage, such as the stages of grief, in any linear way is no longer accepted. Rather, transitions follow that path most suited to our own strengths and weaknesses. Feiler suggests there are 3 parts in a transition: the long goodbye, leaving the past behind; the messy middle, stumbling toward a fresh new identity; and the new beginning, embracing a new you. Depending on what you are good at, whether it be saying goodbye or being creative in chaos or starting something new, that is what you will gravitate towards. And likewise, whatever you struggle to do of those 3 things, you will get stuck in and have a longer time getting through it. None of these happen in sequence or are separate. The third truth Feiler suggests and shares is about transitions. They will take longer than you think, but no longer than you need. The average length of a transition is around 5 years. If you think about any time in your life when you have had a major life quake and the transition you made to what we now term as a new normal, how long did it take you to get through it from letting go, figuring out what to do next, and finding that new normal? During those times, I remember thinking, is this ever going to end? Some of us are probably thinking that right now with the pandemic or any other life change that may be happening. The fourth truth about transitions Feiler found was transitions are autobiographical questions. These transitional times create periods of time when our stories are disrupted and plot lines have gaps. We often examine our lives to understand the story we have been telling ourselves and how that story has changed, as well as how it needs to be revised. This is often where we are able to become active agents in the change we are experiencing. We have the choice to tell a new narrative and get rid of storylines that are no longer working for us. Finally, Feiler reminds us in the fifth truth about transitions that they are essential to life. There is power within our transitions, Feiler explains. Transitions are filled with tumult and unrest, but they're also filled with helpful purging and dazzling creativity. They're chaos. Chaos is not noise, it's signal. Disorder is not a mistake, it's a design element. If we view these periods as aberrations, we risk their becoming missed opportunities. If we view them as openings, we just might open up to them.
I invite you into a time of meditation. Settle into your space. Let your shoulders relax. Place your feet firmly on the floor. Take a deep breath in and out. And if you so choose, close your eyes. Our meditation words come from Bruce Marshall. In an unsettled world, we seek for a few moments to turn away from the noise and confusion of our lives. We seek to enter a stillness that resides in the depths of each of us, a stillness at the center of all that exists. For a few moments, let us seek quiet. Not the quiet that is the absence of noise, for there is always noise. Rather, it is like the stillness of a friend listening, the noontime silence of sunlight on a lake, the silence of a new idea, a thought that makes the world pause, the quiet of growing plants, the quiet of a child sleeping, the silence that brings rest, the silence that brings renewal, the silence from which hope and love emerge. Let us pause for a few moments to listen for the stillness that rests beneath the confusion and complexities of our life.
Our second reading is an excerpt from Let Your Life Speak by Parker Palmer. As often happens on a spiritual journey, we have arrived at the heart of a paradox. Each time a door closes, the rest of the world opens up. All we need to do is stop pounding on the door that just closed, turn around, which puts the door behind us, and welcome the largeness of life that now lies open to our souls. The door that closed kept us from entering a room, but what now lies before us is the rest of reality.
Filer suggests there are 7 tools that can help us through our transitions. No one uses all 7, and rarely are they used in sequence. You are the master of what tools are most helpful to you. For simplicity's sake, though, we're going to number them 1 through 7. The first tool is to accept the transition and identify your emotions. Often this means stepping into emotions we are reluctant to feel, such as fear, sadness, and shame. It may mean we have to see ourselves as someone different. However, as we discovered a few weeks ago in these difficult moments, the only way to process what is happening is to step into it. By stepping in and accepting a transition, we are empowered to take responsibility for how we want that transition to happen. The second tool is to mark the transition by ritualizing the change. In the people Filer interviewed, there were several different ways people engage this tool. He explains a ritual is a symbolic act, gesture, or ceremony that helps add meaning in times of transition. In creating rituals, Filer found we are drawn to rituals that reassure us we still have some control over our lives. We are drawn to rituals that deepen our relationships with others. And we are drawn to rituals that connect our pain or joy to a higher calling. These rituals can include a sabbatical, a tattoo, a pilgrimage, the lighting of candles, saving of a memento, special meal, jumping out of an airplane, or building an altar, just to name a few. The third tool is to shed old mindsets, routines and ways of being, delusions, or dreams. This is often a time of great chaos with feelings of being lost and confused. Filer uses a quote by Andre Gide to exemplify this tool. Gide says, "One doesn't discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore for a very long time." By losing ourselves, we are able to open ourselves up to new possibilities, understandings, and ways of being. The fourth tool is to create and try new things. This is often a very chaotic time as well, filled with all kinds of possibilities. Other people revisit passions they had earlier in life or find new ones they want to explore. According to Filer, history is filled with stories of people who responded to setbacks through creative solutions, such as Monet, adjusting to blurry vision from cataracts by making his water lilies less detailed. Or Beethoven answered his worsening deafness with an unrivaled burst of originality. Filer found creativity thrives on isolation and disconnection, flourishes in liminal space and time, and feeds on chaos. This is one of the most used tools in times of transition. It's a tool that brings nourishment and comfort. The fifth tool is to share it and seek wisdom from others. This is the most used tool, and it is used by everyone at some point during their transition. We are communal beings and thrive on connecting with each other. We know this from our hymnal reading, "We need one another." And we witness this every week in sharing our joys and sorrows. We share our stories. We are empowered, seen, heard, comforted, and connected when we do this. The sixth tool is to unveil our new self or to step into a new way of being. It is when a new job is started, a move happens, when the new story we have created starts to be lived. It might be when we have our first moment in a new normal. It is the public unveiling of our new selves. This might be an updated profile in social media, a new job title, a new educational achievement, or a new addition to your family. The seventh tool is to compose and tell our revised narrative. It is the updated personal story that has incorporated the transition and what you have learned in the process. It helps us create meaning of the time and lets us control the narrative rather than the narrative controlling us. It is the shift from this is happening to me now to that happened to me then. There is distance and the ability to see what growth happened to let you thrive into your future. This is one of the most important tools and is often one that is barely used to its full potential.
I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now.
Our third reading is an excerpt from Life is in the Transitions by Bruce Feiler. Stop for a second and listen to the story going on in your head. It's there, somewhere, in the background. It's the story you tell others when you first meet them. It's the story you tell yourself when you visit a meaningful place, when you flip through old photographs, when you celebrate an achievement, when you rush to the hospital. It's the story of who you are, where you came from, where you dream of going in the future. It's the high point of your life, the low point, the turning point. It's what you believe in, what you fight for, what matters most to you. It's the story of your life. And that story isn't just part of you. It is you in a fundamental way. Life is the story you tell yourself. But how you tell that story, are you a hero, victim, lover, warrior, caretaker, believer, matters a great deal. How you adapt that story, how you revise, rethink, and rewrite your personal narrative as things change, lurch, or go wrong in your life, matters even more. Recently, something happened to me that made me focus on these issues. I lost control of that story bouncing in my head. For a while, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was going. I was lost. That's when I began to realize, while storytelling has drawn significant academic and popular interest in recent years, there's an aspect of personal storytelling that hasn't gotten enough attention. What happens when we misplace the plot of our lives? when we get sidetracked by one of the mishaps, foul-ups, or reversals of fortune that appear with uncomfortable frequency these days? What happens when our fairy tales go awry? We get stuck in the woods and can't get out. William James, father of modern psychology, reminds us, we can't ignore these central themes of life. We can't wish or will them away. We have to accept them, name them, mark them, and share them, and eventually convert them into a new and vital fuel for remaking our life stories.
Weiler suggests there are 3 meanings that enrich our stories. First, stories empower us. They give us the ability to own our lives and how we live them. Second, stories connect us. They help define the relationships in our lives and how we belong. Third, stories inspire us. They give us purpose, focus, and cause. They make us more human and more humane. Take a moment and think about your life, the scope of it. Think for a minute of a high point. There may be one moment or multiple moments. What's a high point from your life that comes to mind? Think of a turning point that marked a change in your life. When was that time that your life turned around or changed? Now think of a meaningful experience that was deeply profound, that provided a sense of oneness in the world. Now, think of a low point. There might be one, or there might be multiple. When you think over your life and the story it tells, is there a theme that emerges? What about a shape? I invite you to take the time over this next week, or even during fellowship time after the service, to share these answers. In fact, if you can, take the time to tell your story to someone and invite them to tell you theirs. Stories are a gift. They're a gift we receive and give throughout our lives. May we see them as the blessings that they are and empower each other to be the narratives of our own lives. Let us pray. Our prayer is from Reverend Leslie Takahashi. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a generosity of spirit, a deeper joy in this life we share. Amen. Please raise your spirit and voice for our closing hymn, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I say yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
May we embrace the transitions in our lives and see them as opportunities to learn more about ourselves and our world. Love be with you.
Please join me in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please raise your hands in the spirit of connection for our closing song.
Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.